following is a Galactic Digital Studios production. Unlike most of your favorite blog sites, this podcast was not brought to you by ChatGPT. This is Tech Talk, part of the Closing Tag Network. I am Raul Smith, the head of development and design over at Galactic Digital Studios. If you want video editing, logo design, graphic design, web development, I should say, or SEO services done for your business, search for Galactic Digital Studios at galacticdigitalstudios.com. Galactic Digital Studios, out of this world service at down-to-earth prices. So I don't want to do it. I really don't want to do this. I don't want to come on here and say I told you so. That I said from day one of this podcast that progress in AI was coming and you cannot stop it. You cannot stop the inevitable. I don't want to do it, but guess what? Come here. I told you so. And that's going to be our topic for today. So there was a really good Forbes article that I read recently. This was back in June. Written by a nice lady, Maren Thomas Bannon. And it's titled, How AI is Changing the Future of Work. And I have the article pulled up right now. According to the article, a report by Goldman Sachs suggested that artificial intelligence could replace a staggering 300 million full-time jobs within the next 10 years. Now, to put that number in perspective, right now as it stands in 2023, the population of the United States is at 339 million. Just a little above 339 million. Somewhere between that and 340. You are talking about replacing 80 to 90% of the workforce in this country with AI. Let that sink in for a second. That is just a mind-bending, just mind-fucking number. 80 to 90%. Now, I could go on a whole rant about, I suggested back in episode 1 that we should look into a subsidized, government income for all citizens. But I'm not going to do that today. That'll be next time. So I actually think that this is a good opportunity. I'm going to say this with the slightest hint of optimism. A lot of people hear AI, hear automation, hear robots, and they automatically assume Skynet. It's going to take over. It's going to wipe us all out. I'm not so sure. Not if we play our cards right. I'm more afraid of our leaders not playing our cards right than I am of AI taking over. Let me explain. So, I have zero faith that a government that still believes that coal is a viable energy source will actually do right by the people and combat the effects that progress in AI will have on our workforce. If you really think about it for a second, and I know this is a lot of rehash from episode 1, bear with me on this. You talk about AI and you talk about automation. There's a lot of that going on even now. When I was recently at Amazon, we were kind of let in on something that Amazon is working on right now. And I didn't sign an NDA or anything, so I'm free and clear to talk about this. And it's probably happening in markets like New York and LA anyway, so there you go. Don't mind the train in the background. So Amazon has this thing that they've got going on in conjunction with Whole Foods, which they own. In that a lot of the stores right now are cashierless. And the way that it's working is that AI and automation are detecting what items a customer or a patron grab from the shelf, and then as they go to walk out, it automatically deducts that amount from their account. And the way that it does that is it does that through like automation, does it through like sensors in the shelves. Obviously, there are going to be faults for this. There's going to be a lot of faults. There's going to be a lot of like, well, what happens if the system goes down? What if, it detects that you took through 2 of this item, 2 gallons of milk as opposed to just 1, and it overcharges. There's a lot of that. But like a lot of things that are natural progression of society, it's going to have flaws, but it's a step in the right direction. Or at least they think it's the right direction. This is not the finished product. Or as Bill Gates famously put it, it's not a bug, it's a feature. I also think that this is a golden opportunity for us to kind of use AI and automation the same way that the Industrial Revolution was kind of revolutionary in how we produce goods and everything. So I'm going to read the part about the article, or part from the article. This is a quote from Joanne Chen, general partner at Foundation Capital. Quote, AI is a force manipulator or multiplier. Wow. I've got Star Trek or Star Wars on my brain. AI is a force multiplier for human intelligence and productivity. Like the Industrial Revolution brought with machines and factories, AI is a means of production that will empower one to do the work of many. It's hard to imagine change on that scale, yet it's likely bigger than we anticipate. AI won't just boost efficiency for coding, marketing, legal, or healthcare admin work, but entirely evolve how businesses and organizations of all types are built and run. Now, let me stop there for a second. A lot of what I do is hand coding and stuff like that. So this affects me too. I'm panicking as well as much as you are. But I also see past my own insecurities and see that this is something that's coming. I can throw a temper tantrum. I can go sit in the corner over there by the microwave that you see behind me, and I can just curl up in a ball and just cry about it for days on end. But it would not do me any good. Another thing that I really like from this article is that it's not just about AI taking over jobs, but making jobs more efficient. This is another quote, this one from Parul Singh, partner at Initialize Capital. Job functions are already starting to profoundly change with the adoption of AI. 1 million developers already use GitHub Copilot to generate code, forever altering the code creation process. I'll stop there for a second. That is 100% true. GitHub and VS Code and all these different things are initializing and instituting AI to make people like me's job a lot easier and a lot more efficient. And if my job is easier and if my job is more efficient, then I can make more money utilizing this type of technology to help other people as well. In areas like, continuing the quote by the way, in areas like financial services and legal, the days of manual research are numbered, as the collaboration between professionals and AI native applications will streamline and in some cases eliminate job functions to create previously unimaginable efficiencies. Now, the thing that people are going to hang their hat on, no pun intended, is the quote about eliminating job functions. That's going to be a hanging chad for a lot of people, because they see that and they go, oh my God, my job is in crisis. First of all, if you were that concerned about your job to begin with, maybe you're not doing that good of a job. Just saying. And since this is a tech and developer centric podcast, I do want to read this other quote from Lars Albright, general partner at Unusual Ventures. One immediate impact of large language models is that they are significantly reducing the number of software developers needed to build and ship new digital products. My own portfolio startups are replacing coders with copilots. Although they still very much rely on their generals, such as chief technology officer, head of AI, they are finding that they need fewer and fewer soldiers, such as coders and data scientists. Wow, I cannot talk. So, in a way, yes, it's making my life easier, but in another way, it's making my life a lot more difficult. Right now, job-wise, there isn't a lot of junior mid-level software developer jobs out there. And the ones that are out there are requiring a lot more advanced technology than it's ever been required before. So like for my case, for instance, I'm seeing a lot of mid-level jobs out there in the field that require like C# and ASP.NET and all these different technologies that I've never really touched before. It both excites me and terrifies me. It excites me because I'm always eager to learn more. And I think that's why I'm not as afraid about AI as other people are. Because I want to learn. I want to learn more about AI. I want to learn more about what technologies it can, help me develop with. But at the same time, it's also terrifying me because I'll be brutally honest, I'm 44 years old. I don't have a lot of time to go back to school and relearn stuff and learn new technologies and all this stuff. And there are only so many hours in the day between the podcasts, the business, the game streaming, the jobs that I currently have. Yes, jobs, plural. And a lot of that takes up a lot of hours, and I don't have a lot of hours for going on Udemy and going on Codecademy and learning new things. Plus, I don't have a lot of expendable income to spend on these courses. These courses are expensive, at least most of them are. Udemy's pretty good about having sales. That's not a plug for Udemy, I'm just throwing it out there. But I think this quote from Danica Matani, principal at Cherry Ventures, I think this is really telling. AI is radically changing the way in which organizations make critical decisions. It empowers simulations that feed insights and proposals into commercial decisions like exploring pricing schemes, operational ones like optimizing routing and logistics, and even those in more complex domains like finding design and engineering solutions to a detailed brief. Increasingly, AI can fully make and automate these decisions, such as with autonomous commercial negotiations or closed-loop manufacturing optimization systems. Longer term, I see an opportunity for complete digital representations of business with sophisticated AIs that can make decisions on these. Imagine being able to hire an AI COO or even a fully autonomous business that generates profit without requiring any input at all. That, I think, is going to be very telling for the next 10 years. It's not just the lower decks, as you will, of the workforce. It's not just, the people on the lower end of the ladder or lower rung of the ladder that are going to be affected by this. It's the COOs and the CEOs and all the business decision makers that are also going to be affected by this. Now, granted, they're going to be more financially well off long run than we are. Thanks. But I think that the fact that it's affecting everybody is going to be a huge win in how it's going to help convince those in power to kind of look into solutions on how to best combat this, or at least utilize it to where we're using AI to make our lives easier, not harder. Now, one thing that I really want to emphasize on this, and it's something I probably should have brought up on Monday's episode, but this is a really telling quote as well from Jill Chase, partner at Capital G. Great innovation can be obtained by these disruptor trends, AI, machine learning, automation, etc. The newest generation of large language models have advanced so quickly that as an investor, it will become increasingly important to navigate through the noise and identify substance. We are excited about tech solutions that introduce automation, but also hybrid solutions that can accelerate productivity globally for organizations to grow in a sustainable manner. Now, I say that because of the tagline, that it's making it harder than ever to identify substance amidst all the noise. If AI can be used to create noise to mask the substance in business, what do you think that's going to do for politics? We're already seeing a lot of people trying to use AI to deepfake certain people, no names mentioned, Donald Trump, into endorsing them as candidates. And I think that's going to be a huge learning curve, a huge thing in us trying to identify the substance from the noise. Now, in all, I think this is a very, very good article by Forbes. Even if you're not a big fan of Forbes, I think that everybody listening to this podcast should go out of their way to read this, because it is jarring how much truth there is to this and how significant. Really, we are on the precipice of a turning point in human history. I don't think we can I don't think that's an exaggeration. I don't think that's, overhyping the situation. I think we are legitimately on the cusp of a turning point in human history. How we handle AI and how we handle automation and how we handle progress in the 2020s is going to further define us as a species. And I'll be honest, I don't have a lot of faith in our current government to handle it well. But I do have a lot of faith and a lot of hope that people like myself and a lot of the smart business people that I just read quotes from will be able to handle it a lot better than our current leaders. Our current leaders can't even tell or fathom how Facebook makes their money. How the hell are they going to come up with a plan to combat the 300 million jobs lost to AI? And just think about that for a second. 300 million. I still can't wrap my head around that. That is a lot. I'm going to pull up my calculator in real time. Hold on one second. And no, I'm not going to edit this out. 339,000,000. That's 339 million. Okay, so actually, let's do this real quick. 300 million divided by 339,000,000. Yeah, that's 88% of our workforce. And if there's no plan in place to make sure that that 88% doesn't die off as a result of this, we could be in for a major humanitarian crisis. And I'm seeing a lot more of AI and 3D printing involved in things like construction, things like, clothes manufacturing. There's going to be a lot of change and progress over the next few years. Not just in the next 10 years, in the next few years, there's going to be a lot of change. And I just don't know if we are fully ready for it. I hope one day we are. I really hope one day that we are ready for this. I just don't see it being today. A friendly reminder to check out the blogs that I write occasionally on theclosingtag.com. That's theclosingtag.com. Make sure the "the" is in front. Just go to the upper right corner and you will either see a hamburger menu or the network tab. Just go to the network tab, select what blog you want to catch up on, and go from there. All blogs are separated by topic so as to not dilute the main feed. Also, while you are there, be sure to click the donate button. I may not do this as a full-time job, but every little bit helps to secure better equipment, better soundproofing, just things in general. More bottles of water. Your donations will also earn you a special shout out on the air if you want one. Again, that's theclosingtag.com, theclosingtag.com. We should be putting archives from YouTube on the appropriate channels as well in the coming weeks. So before I wrap this day up, it has been quite the evening. A few minor stories here and there from our good friends in the tech world. So there's a really cool article. Let me pull it up here real quick. It is a TLDR article. There are some really cool JavaScript tips that you can use to kind of help you with your so it's on a Medium. It's on Medium, but it's kind of behind a paywall. So, there's that. But there's like stuff like combining multiple objects. There's being able to insert values in between an array. It's like basic stuff. I would definitely go out of your way to go look for that. My favorite on this one, I'm looking at it right now, it's how to get the current timestamp. You already know my feeling about copyrights on the bottoms of websites. Let's not revisit that. But yeah, you can do that through JavaScript. You can insert the current year, and every January 1st, every time the ball drops in New York, the minute it hits midnight on New Year's Eve, it turns over by itself. It is amazing. You should definitely do it on your websites. I definitely recommend it. Let's see what other news stuff is out there. So there's a really cool article. I'll probably include that in the description link in the video or podcast. How to avoid Microsoft Graph API throttling and optimize network traffic. I think that's going to be something that you're going to want to look at as well, especially if you're using Microsoft applications in your websites. I'm currently in the process of learning how to do that myself, so that's something that you definitely want to check out. And there's the thing about GitHub Copilot. What do you know? I'll be sure to include that as well. Yes, I did not come into this fully prepared, but that's okay. Ryan Dawes, who is a senior editor at TechForge Media, had the following to say about GitHub Copilot Chat, which is now available to all developers. This was launched for business users back in July, but is now available as of October for all users on the GitHub platform. It's one of the most significant impacts. Its potential to help democratize software development. Now, if you don't know, GitHub is kind of a collaborative tool that developers use to kind of collaborate editing code. So for instance, I'm working on a project with someone in London, and I'm here in Salt Lake City or Ogden, somewhere in Utah, basically. And the developer in London says, hey, I need to do this, and I need it done by Monday. I'm not going to be able to get to it because I'm sick or whatever the case is. I can then go in to the GitHub repo, pull the code, make the quick edits that he wants done or needs done, and then upload it back up to GitHub. He has it ready for his presentation by Monday. Everybody wins. That sort of thing. Or me and the same developer are working on a project and he's making edits at the same time that I am. So he saves his edit first on GitHub and he lets me know, hey, just letting you know, there's some changes made to this file. You might want to download it before you make any further changes. So I download the file, I sync up everything on GitHub, and it prevents developers from stepping on each other's toes, basically. There's your quick dev tip for the day. And then let's go to my favorite newsletter, because I'm all about helping small business, and that is Search Engine Roundtable. You might want to go to seroundtable.com and subscribe. It's a daily newsletter. It comes into your email inbox every day. It's got all sorts of great information about how to better optimize and stay on top of things as far as SEO is concerned. There's one in here about Google confirming an issue with Google Ads affecting a significant subset of users. The issue is specific with serving Google Ads and the spending controls for campaigns running in Google Ads, and that is currently investigating the matter. There's also a really cool story in here about a certain someone from Facebook being on the team with Microsoft over a decade ago. This had to have been around the same time that Facebook was just barely starting to gain traction. And yes, the certain someone I'm talking about is Mark Zuckerberg. He was on the Bing team, working on adding social media to Bing search. So I'll include those articles in the link below as well. I'm not going to go out of my way to do that just yet, but I do want to say one more time as I wrap this day up that I want to thank everybody for watching, listening, downloading, and hyping up the show. It's been a long time coming. My throat is gone from all the talking I've done over the last 3 hours, including a session where the mic was muted. That was fun. Maybe I'll include that as a fun story in my next life tip pod. As you can tell, I'm also tired. I wanted to make sure the time was right before I brought it back. Right now, the plan is to record and drop 3 episodes every week, although if this keeps up, I may have to rethink that. Keep an eye out for all of that on all the platforms. You can find the podcast on Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, Facebook, YouTube. Quick programming note, as I mentioned before, we are still in the process as of this recording of finishing up a couple of things on Apple Podcasts. So the episode may be a little bit late on that platform, but don't worry, we are coming back there as well. Google Podcast, by the way, is going away as of mid-2024. But since we're already on YouTube and Google Podcast is transitioning to YouTube, that's not going to be an issue. So with that said, thank you very much once again for downloading, for watching, for listening, for donating, for all the things that help contribute to this podcast. And as always, remember to include your closing tags. I'm going to go to sleep now. This has been a Galactic Digital Studios production.